Jeremy Hunt, is he well, he's kept his cabinet job, and I'm going to go back and explore his career as a politician. Let's not forget that he started off as Culture Secretary. Between 2010 and 2012, he was Culture Secretary. In fact, he was alleged to have improper conduct with News Corp, the company, as proved in the Leveson inquiry, that were responsible for the phone hacking scandal. News Corp were due to take over the B-Sky B, but couldn't because of the scandal. The Labour Party calls for him to resign. Of course he didn't. He was alleged to even hide behind trees to avoid journalists. And this was his response.
What actually happened was that I went to a dinner which I think was hosted by the master of UCL. It wasn't a private dinner with James Murdoch. On my way to the dinner I spotted a large group of media journalists, and I thought this is not the time to have an impromptu interview, so I moved to a different part of the quadrangle.
Where there may or may not have been trees, is that right?
There may or may not have been trees, I'm afraid.
Okay, well, let me move on.
Lord Justice Leveson cleared Hunt of any bias towards News Corp. What also happened in 2012 was the London Olympics. Now, Jeremy Hunt was Culture Secretary at the time, so under that banner covers sport, so therefore he's partly in charge of the Olympics. And it was reported by Danny Boyle, the director, that this NHS scene was actually wanted to be cut by the government. Is that telling of future events? Who knows? But if the allegations are true, then it's pretty damning. Then he became Health Secretary, but one of the things he got wrong was trying to make non-emergency doctors work weekends.
You are 15% more likely to die if you're admitted on a Sunday. If you have a stroke at the weekends, you're 20% more likely to die. That can't be acceptable. It's not acceptable to have mortality rates at the weekend that are 11 to 15%.
In July 2015, he indicated that he would force doctors to do non-emergency work on weekends. This angered many doctors, with the hashtag #IamAtWorkJeremy going viral. He misrepresented many studies to make his claim that doctors not working on weekends causes excess deaths. He also managed to put a lot of ill patients going to hospital till a weekday. This 7-day plan of Hunt was going to cost an extra £900 million a year and required 11,000 more staff. So now you've annoyed the non-emergency doctors, what now can you do? Oh, I know, let's annoy junior doctors by making them work longer for the same amount of pay.
In September, Jeremy Hunt decided to tell us that he was going to impose a contract on us that we feel is unfair and unsafe, and he is refusing to enter into any meaningful negotiations. He won't negotiate on 22 out of 23 points of that contract.
Secretary of State, in a sense, you've become something of a hate figure. How does that feel?
Well, it's never easy, but I think you have to also understand what the job of Health Secretary involves. Sometimes you have to speak out for quite difficult issues to do with patient care.
In September 2015, Hunt wanted to extend the hours for doctors while not getting any bonus pay but increasing their basic pay, making costs neutral. To the doctors, this was seen as an increase in hours and a pay cut. The doctors were against it. Hunt ignored this, and on the 11th of February 2016, he imposed the contract. The doctors threatened to quit and went on strike. In February 2016, he was polled as the most disliked British politician. They discussed it and came up with a new contract, but rejected it by 58%, so Hunt got to impose his contract in the end. So the NHS might be in crisis, but you've got Brexit going on, so who do you blame? Bloody foreigners.
Is it right that someone can come from overseas, perhaps a tourist coming from America or Japan, and actually pay nothing towards their healthcare?
Hunt has consistently failed to meet his targets on this anyway. He wanted to charge foreign nationals for using the NHS, putting the claim the cost is £200 million, when officials estimated the actual cost to be £33 million, with £21 million worth of it already recovered, putting the actual cost at £12 million less than Hunt's crackdown would actually cost. So it's not really worth it. So now he's blamed the doctors, he's blamed the foreigners, he's cut the pay, he's made them work longer. Oh, what's that? Oh, a lovely bit of cash. Thank you very much. In 2013, Hunt faced criticism for going around A&E departments phoning them, asking them why they haven't met their target. But the Emergency Medicine Board blamed the problem on being short of 375 emergency doctors. In 2017, while Hunt didn't allow a 1% pay rise in the NHS, MPs accepted a 1% pay rise in Parliament.
Well, I'd certainly agree that NHS staff do a brilliant job, and we'd certainly like to pay them more than we're able to at the moment.
But you haven't done it?
No, we haven't, because we've had to face a very, very difficult period.
But you've given yourselves a
financially.
pay rise, MPs, repeatedly.
Well, ministers have actually given ourselves a pay cut. That's the only pay we have control over.
Feeling cold, anyone? This is winter 2017.
Today's papers make pretty grim reading if you're the health secretary of this country. The Sun, kill by mouth. 2 die in NHS each day of thirst or starvation. We have the Red Cross saying we have a humanitarian crisis in our NHS. We have the Worcestershire Royal Hospital, where apparently one person died last weekend from a cardiac arrest after waiting 35 hours on a trolley. A second had an aneurysm and died despite treatment after a similar period on a trolley. This is a guy called John Freeman here. His wife Pauline, at the same hospital, recovering from a stroke, spent 38 hours on a trolley because of overcrowding. He says, my wife was stuck on a trolley right next to the fire doors in a corridor. She couldn't get any sleep because of all the trolleys banging in. There were in excess of 20 trolleys stacked up. This is going back to the dark ages.
And this is winter 2018.
I'll read out the following. Richard Fawcett, Senior Doctor in Emergency Medicine. I personally apologise to the people of Stoke for the third world conditions. Dr Taj Hassan, President of the Royal College of Emergency Medicine. We are seeing conditions people have not experienced in their working lives. Dr Nick Scriven, President for the Society of Acute Medicine. The position is as bad as I've ever known. Tracy Bullock, another one, Chief Executive of Mid-Cheshire Hospitals, who says, I'm 34 years in and I've never seen anything like this. So shall I ask that again? Is this a crisis?
Well, as I say, I don't dispute their experiences. It is very, very tough on the front line. But ultimately, I am accountable for the treatment of every patient in the NHS. I'm the health secretary. And to people who've had their operations delayed because of the winter pressures that we're now facing, I apologise, because I recognise that it is a very, very big deal if you need a hip replaced and you're having to wait longer.
So there you have it. The NHS has been consistently underfunded, understaffed and underserved. Undermanaged, mismanaged and just plainly badly done by the health secretary. How he's kept his job, goodness knows. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below and subscribe.